Today we are going to be finding the x and y intercepts of a function. The x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. Our x-axis is this horizontal axis. Our line crosses the x-axis at this point. This point is at 1, 0. Notice where a graph crosses the x-axis, that point will always have a y value of 0. The y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Our y-axis is the vertical axis. This graph crosses our y-axis at this point, which is 0, 2. Notice that the x value will be 0 on our y-intercept. Wherever the graph crosses the y-axis, that point will have a x value of 0. What is the x-intercept? Write your answer as an ordered pair. The x-intercept here is where a graph crosses the x-axis. Our x-intercept has an x value of -2 and the y value of 0. Our ordered pair at this point would be -2, 0. What is the y-intercept? Write your answer as an ordered pair. The y-intercept is where a graph crosses the y-axis. This point has an x value of 0 and a y value of 4. The ordered pair would be 0, 4. We can also find x and y-intercepts from a table. To find an x-intercept, you need to see where y equals 0. So for an x-intercept, we want a number for x. So we're going to look at our y values, see where y equals 0. This will be our x-intercept. To find a y-intercept, you would need to see where x equals 0. So to find a y-intercept, we want a number for y. When x is 0, y is 3. To find the x-intercept, we need to find out where y is 0. Our x-intercept would be -1, 0. To find an x-intercept, we want an x value where y is 0. To find a y-intercept, we need to look at our y values and pick the one where x is 0. Our y-intercept is 0, 4. We can also find x and y-intercepts if we have an equation. Remember, our x-intercept will be when y equals 0. To find an x-intercept, we will plug 0 in for y and solve the equation. So for our x-intercept, we will have 3x minus 4 times 0 equals 24. 4 times 0 is 0. So we will have 3x equals 24. When we divide both sides by 3, we get x equals 24 divided by 3, which is 8. So our x-intercept has an x value of 8 and a y value of 0. To find a y-intercept, we need to plug 0 in for x because we want our y value when x is 0. So to find the y-intercept, we will do 3 times 0 minus 4y equals 24. 3 times 0 is 0, so we have negative 4y equals 24. We can divide both sides by negative 4, and we get y equals negative 6. Our ordered pair, x equals 0, and we solved to get y equals negative 6. The x-intercept is 8, 0. The y-intercept is 0, negative 6. Sometimes x-intercepts are called zeros. If a problem asks you to find the 0 of a function, they are just asking you to find the x-intercept. So the word x-intercept and zeros are the same word. They're the same meaning. An x-intercept or a 0 is just saying what is x when y is 0. Find the 0 of this function. Remember, finding the 0 is the same as finding the x-intercept. In order to do this, we want our x value when y is 0. So negative 2x plus 5 times 0 equals negative 12. 5 times 0 is 0, so we have negative 2x plus 0, which is negative 2x. To find x, we can divide both sides by negative 2, and we get x equals negative 12 divided by negative 2, which is 6. The 0, or x-intercept of this function, is 6, 0. Find the y-intercept of this function. Remember, when we find the y-intercept, we want to know what y is when x is 0. 6 times 0 plus 3y equals negative 12. 6 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 3y is 3y. So 3y equals negative 12. We can divide both sides by 3, and we get y equals negative 4. So when x is 0, y is negative 4. Here's a quick brain break for you. Continuing on part 2 of this lesson, I can identify functions as tables, equations, and graphs. Which table represents the rule y equals 2/3 x minus 4? If I want to take an equation and match it to a table, we just need to plug in our x values and see if we get the corresponding y values. So we're going to need to check every single point in all of these tables. Starting with letter A, if we plug in 0, y equals 2/3 times 0 minus 4. 2/3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. Not negative 2, and so A cannot be our answer. We can check B. We'll plug in negative 3 for x. 2/3 times negative 3 minus 4. 2/3 times negative 3 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. That's good. We need to check our next value too. 2/3 times 6 minus 4. 2/3 times 6 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So when I plugged negative 3 in for x, my answer is negative 6. When I plug 6 in for x, my y value is 0. So B is the correct answer. C is our correct answer. When we plug in negative 2 for x, negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. When we plug in negative 1 for x, negative 2 times negative 1 is 3. 3 plus, when we plug in negative 1 for x, negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. When we plug in 0 for x, negative 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. When we plug in 1 for x, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. Which is the function described by the table of ordered pairs below? C is the correct answer. We need to take each of these x values and plug them in for every x in the equation to see which one gives us a matching y value. When we take negative 2 and plug it in for x in letter C, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, minus 5 is negative 11. When we plug in 0, 3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. When we plug in 3, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 minus 5 is 4. When we plug in 5 for x, 3 times 5 is 15. 15 minus 5 is 10. When we plug in 10 for x, 3 times 10 is 30. 30 minus 5 is 25. So C is the correct answer. Which table appears to contain all the points in the table? When you do this, you just need to plot these ordered pairs and find out which has all three ordered pairs on the line. Negative 2, 2 is right here. 4, negative 1 is right here. 8, negative 3 is not on our graph, but it would be around here. It looks like it falls in line. Negative 2 is right here. This is wrong. Negative 2, 2 is right here. This is wrong. That is not on our graph. And negative 2, 2 is right here. This is wrong. These points are not on the line. A is the only one that has all the points on the line. Even though we can't see where 8, negative 3 is, we could estimate that it will fall on that line.